It's been almost 50 years since humans have left Earth's orbit. The last time we were on the moon was in 1972, when the last Apollo mission, Apollo 17, returned back after 12 days. The kids of the Apollo era dreamt of one day going to the moon and even beyond. Those dreams unfortunately came to a halt in the last 50 years after the Apollo missions were canceled. Fortunately, we are going back to the moon, and for a long time now, with plans of a permanent base on the moon and then finally landing the first humans on Mars. The foundation of this will be laid by the Artemis program, and by the first 3 Artemis missions to be precise. We have talked about the mission framework of the Artemis missions in our previous videos, but today we will take a deeper look at the 3 Artemis missions, which are the backbone of this framework. So what are you waiting for? Get ready for the most in-depth analysis of the 3 Artemis missions. Do you ever get the feeling of being followed online? Do you know the feeling that you think you are being listened to over the phone? We present to you NordVPN, #1 choice for security. NordVPN provides the most transparent VPN online. It changes your IP address and channels your traffic through an encrypted tunnel, making you fully anonymous. NordVPN is available for all platforms: Windows, macOS, Android, Linux, iOS, and many more. Our payment methods include credit cards, PayPal, gift cards, and cryptocurrencies. Strengths: stronger data protection, unlimited access to all kinds of content. Change your VPN location and watch your favorite shows anywhere in the world. A great example is Peaky Blinders' new season, available only in the UK and BBC Player. Insane streaming and file sharing speed. Remove ads and saves mobile data. A brand new feature to desktop apps, threat protection. And it's going to take your digital security to the next level. Once you enable it on your NordVPN app, threat protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. That's right, when you switch it on, it will stay on regardless of your VPN connection. It blocks dangerous websites that might potentially host malware, even if you click on a dangerous link by accident. It also scans every file you download, and it deletes the infected ones. We have an insane offer for our Insane Curiosity viewers. Sign up now to get an increased digital privacy for less than $2 a month. By clicking on the link, you get 4 extra months for free, meaning only $1.98 a month, a discount of 83% off, risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee, 24/7 live chat customer support. Make your VPN experience truly your own. Stay safe and do not let anyone intrude on your privacy. Back to our future on the moon now. The foundation for our return of humans to the moon is NASA's Deep Space Transportation System, the Orion spacecraft, SLS rocket, the HLS, and the EGS facilities that provide a modernized spacecraft. The Orion spacecraft is powered by a service module which will be provided by the European Space Agency and has been specifically designed for a crew of 4. The precursor mission to the 3 Artemis missions would be the first payload delivered to the lunar surface aboard the CLPS provider landers and the 13 CubeSats deployed from the SLS during Artemis 1 mission. Human exploration under the Artemis program will start with crewed flight tests of SLS and Orion of Artemis 2 missions in 2023. At the same time, NASA and its commercial HLS partners will conduct in-space testing of their entire hardware, software, and operating system required for the Artemis 3 mission in 2024. Let's take a look at each Artemis mission in detail. Artemis 1. The Artemis 1 mission will be the first launch of the Artemis mission. The SLS rocket will launch an uncrewed Orion spacecraft into orbit around the Earth, placing it on a path to travel 40,000 miles beyond the moon and a total of 280,000 miles from Earth before returning back. The successful launch of the Artemis 1 mission will be very crucial to demonstrate the performance of the SLS rocket and gather data during the flight path of the Orion spacecraft before its high-speed Earth re-entry. The high-speed lunar velocity re-entry is the ultimate goal and a necessary test of thermal efficiency as it enters Earth's atmosphere, heating about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, about half the temperature of the Sun, before it hits the Pacific. In this uncrewed configuration, the engineering equipment will fly instead of the astronaut. Instead of cockpit indicators and controls and life support systems that will fly in the first crewed flight, this first flight will carry the data collection tools needed to verify performance and compare predictable models with real flight data. Over a period of 4 to 6 weeks during the mission, Orion will travel 1.4 million miles before returning to Earth, breaking Apollo 13's record for the largest distance covered in a spacecraft designed for humans. The mission will also deploy 13 important CubeSats, out of which 5 of them will return lunar data and conduct scientific investigations. This will help us know more about working in deep space environments. The preparation of Artemis 1 is almost complete. The SLS rocket, comprising 4 RS-25 liquid rocket engines, 2 solid rocket boosters, the massive core stage, and the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, has already been rolled out to the launch pad 39B. The Orion spacecraft's first and maiden test flight, Exploration Flight Test 1, flew on December 5, 2014. The mission was 4.5 hours long and demonstrated important capabilities of the Orion spacecraft in high Earth orbit and tested the spacecraft's heat shield to the extent possible during re-entry into the Earth, proving the capsule's recovery system. Along with that, NASA has also completed a series of Orion parachute tests in September of 2018. In 2019, NASA further tested the launch abort system of the Orion spacecraft on a test mission known as Ascent Abort 2. If an emergency occurs during the launch abort system pulls Orion and its crew away from the rocket, landing it into the Atlantic. Artemis 2. Artemis 2 will be the first crewed flight of the Space Launch System, SLS, and the Orion spacecraft. It will send 4 astronauts to the lunar environment for the first time ever in 50 years. This will be the Apollo 8 moment of the Artemis generation, when astronauts aboard Orion will capture the full globe of Earth from afar. With a boost of confidence from the Artemis 1 mission and thousands of hours of flight and ground testing, the Artemis 2 crew will board Orion, sitting atop the SLS for a 10-day mission and set a record for the farthest human travel beyond the dark side of the moon. The crew will be launched on board Orion by the SLS rocket, and the capsule will perform 2 orbits around Earth before committing to the voyage to the moon. Orion will initially enter an initial insertion orbit at a height of 115 by 1800 miles, and the elliptical orbit will last around 90 minutes, with the perigee altered by the rocket's first fire of the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, ICPS. Following the first orbit, the rocket's ICPS will generate power to lift Orion into a high Earth orbit, HEO, where it will sail in an elliptical orbit for roughly 42 hours between 259,000 miles above Earth. After reaching high Earth orbit, Orion will separate from the ICPS, and the expendable stage will have one final use for the crew, who will use it as a target for a proximity operations demonstration. The astronauts will steer Orion's flight route and orientation in manual mode during this exercise. To evaluate Orion's handling qualities, the crew will utilize onboard cameras and the view from the spacecraft windows to line up with the ICPS as they approach and back away from the stage. The demonstration will offer vital performance data and operational experience that cannot be obtained on the ground in preparation for key rendezvous, proximity operations, docking and undocking activities that will commence on Artemis 3. The Artemis 2 crew will travel 4,600 miles beyond the far side of the moon. From this point, they will be able to see the Earth and the moon from Orion's window. The crew will prepare for Earth entry, descent, and landing the day before they return home by pressurizing and testing the crew module propulsion systems and storing loose equipment before falling through Earth's atmosphere. They will don their pressurized spacesuits and buckle into their seats before the crew module separates from the European service module on entrance day. The Orion spacecraft will be flying at more than 25,000 miles per hour when it re-enters the Earth atmosphere, slowing it down to 325 miles per hour. Parachutes will next slow it down to roughly 20 miles per hour for splashdown, bringing a conclusion to a mission that will cover more than 620,000 miles, over 1 million kilometers. The recovery team will already be positioned at the target landing zone and will recover the crew from the Pacific Ocean. Artemis 3. Artemis 3 will be the conclusion of NASA's Deep Space Transportation System's extensive testing and more than 2 million miles in space during Artemis 1 and 2. Orion and its crew members will once again travel to the moon, but this time to make history by landing the first woman and the next man on the lunar surface. NASA is planning to minimize the number of systems involved in landing humans on the moon by 2024. The future lunar landers will use the Gateway as a staging point in lunar orbit for missions to the surface. The Gateway serves as a long-term staging location for human and robotic lunar missions. The orbiting station will allow for extended moon explorations and maybe numerous visits to the surface during a single Artemis mission. The Gateway to Surface operational system is similar to how a human Mars mission may operate, with the crew able to remain in orbit and deploy to the surface. Before the first human expeditions to Mars, it is critical to acquire operational trust in this system on the moon. But there is still one major question left out. Where will the Artemis 3 astronauts land? Well, the exact landing site hasn't been decided yet, and it depends on several factors, such as the launch date and specific science objectives. NASA is collaborating with the global science community to investigate various regions that provide key desired characteristics, such as access to significant sunlight, which provides minimal temperature variations and may be the only power source, continuous line of sight to Earth for mission support communications, mild grading and surface debris for safe landing and walking or roving mobility, and close proximity to permanently shadowed regions, some of which are thought to contain resources. NASA will collect even more surface data through science research as part of the CLPS effort, which will assist identify additional regions of interest for human exploration. For instance, investigation results from Viper, the robotic scout, may also offer valuable information for landing site decisions. The HLS will transport up to 220 pounds or 100 kilograms of research gear and equipment to the surface, with the intention of returning up to 87.5 pounds, 35 kilograms of samples. More supplies may be deposited on the surface before the crew arrives, depending on the results of an earlier test of the lander's descent stage. Furthermore, our CLPS suppliers may be utilized to transport pre-placed science instruments and equipment for our first human return team to use while exploring the lunar surface. Following the completion of this historic trip on the lunar surface, the crew will launch from the surface to rendezvous with Orion and their crewmates in lunar orbit. The team will prepare for the 3-day voyage back to Earth with their perfectly preserved moon samples. All of the 3 Artemis missions are very crucial for the successful return of humans to the moon. We will even see private companies joining the Human Landing Club in the future, but the foundation will be laid by these 3 missions. Each of the 3 missions is as important as the other. The Artemis missions will be one of the most ambitious missions for NASA in the last few decades. The stakes can never get higher. NASA has to not only land humans back to the moon by 2024, but also make it sustainable in the long term. So what do you think about the 3 Artemis missions? What generational change will it bring in young minds? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, there will be many more updates coming in the near future. The SLS is already sitting on the launch pad, so if you don't want to miss out on the upcoming updates of the Artemis missions, make sure you subscribe to our channel and press that bell notification.